The Heat were back in action on Wednesday night, but showed no sign of fatigue, playing with pace and shooting the ball well against a bad Kings team. A solid win that was just what Miami needed. But Wes, safe to say, Pelle Larsson won't be getting a Christmas card from DeMar DeRozan this year, right?
Definitely not. I don't know what DeMar DeRozan has against Pelle Larsson. I don't know if it's like a Pac-12 thing or what, but clearly DeRozan not a fan of Pelle Larsson.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Join the Cookie Gang, become an everydayer. That means subscribing, tuning in every day, Monday through Friday, and signing up for the Everydayer Club with the link in the show notes. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm Wes Goldberg, host of Locked On NBA Daily and Real GM Radio. I'm here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat Media members who cover this team every day. A late-night show for you. We've got some credit cookies to hand out, and we also have a question about Giannis that we'll get to here in a second. But David, we're recording this after the Heat's win over the Sacramento Kings in Sacramento on Tuesday night. The Heat took care of business in this one. I texted the Everydayer Club going into this thing, basically saying that for the Heat to win, the key for them in this game, just don't beat yourself. The Heat just had to not beat themselves, and David, they didn't. They didn't turn the ball over a ton. They didn't send the Kings to the free throw line a bunch. Zach LaVine had some minutes. Malik Monk had a little bit of support, but they didn't let any one player really beat them in this one. They took care of the second chance points, right? They didn't give the Kings a bunch of easy stuff. The Kings are a team that are actively and organizationally looking to lose games. So that's why I say just don't beat yourself. Don't throw up all over your own shoes. And the Heat, on the second night of back-to-back after a disappointing loss in Golden State, just went into Sacramento, took care of business, come away with the win.
That's basically what it came down to. It was a really inferior opponent there that doesn't look like they're very well organized, doesn't look like they're playing with anything. And the game probably would have been a little bit more, even more of a deficit for Sacramento had it not been for a late spurt by Russell Westbrook towards the end of the game when it really didn't matter and when it was clear that Miami was going to win the game anyway. And they were down 3-2 to start the game, and after that, it was all Miami. They controlled the first quarter, and they were able to build their lead steadily from that point forward. And it was a good game. So I think your assessment's pretty spot on about them not beating themselves. And I like the effort because on the second night of a back-to-back after a disappointing loss where you probably didn't play with much effort to begin with, they really did respond fairly well. And so I think it was a good win for Miami, but you can't take too much of it because, well, it's the Kings. And they're just, speaking of throwing up all over themselves, that's what the Kings have been doing for quite some time.
Yeah, and as soon as they kind of got it right with that De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis light the beam here, they were just like, yeah, we figured out how to put 2 feet in front of the one foot in front of the other one. And then
we don't like it. We're uncomfortable with winning, so we're just going to go back to our losing way.
We're going to go back to our laxatives and start doing what we do best. Yeah, look, you look at the stats on this game, right? I mean, the Heat did not turn the ball over hardly at all in this game after turning the ball over a lot against Golden State. Just 10 turnovers for the Heat in this game. You can live with that. Some of those a little bit sloppy towards the end in garbage time where it really didn't matter anymore. From 3-point range, they took 42 3-point attempts in this game, but that's not really Miami's game. They don't take that many threes, but hey, when you're making 21 of them, when you're shooting 50% from beyond there, let it fly, dude. Like, I had no problem with it. I normally would like to see the Heat get to the rim a little bit more, but when the three's going in, take the shot, right? Like, beggars can't be choosers, especially with an offense that's been back in the bottom 10 in offensive rating. What did you think about the offense and kind of where they were getting their shots?
They took what Sacramento gave them pretty generously. And I don't like the shot diet necessarily, but because the shots were falling, it seemed like it was appropriate for Miami to continue to take those shots. And maybe they could have diversified, but there were a few possessions there, especially early on when it wasn't quite a sure thing for Miami to escape with a win, that I thought, well, you know what, you don't have to take a three in those circumstances. Norm Powell taking those shots from distance, especially with a lot of time left in the shot clock. We're used to that sort of thing, but maybe a couple of those shots, not the best, choice for him to make. A couple other players rushing into taking a 3-point shot when you could have done something else. They were settling a little bit, but you know what? It never really felt like it was a pressure situation. There was no sense of urgency from Miami because they didn't really feel any pressure from Sacramento, and so I don't have any problem necessarily with it. It also just shows how difficult it has been this season to assess Miami because they don't normally shoot this well, but when they do, it leads to a victory. I don't know if it's something that they can continue to replicate unless it's against another inferior opponent, and they got the win that they needed to against a really bad Sacramento team. So you know what? I don't have a problem with the win. I just also don't feel necessarily overjoyed by it because
how could you? Dave, it's fine. The Kings stink. Like, the league should launch an investigation into this team. The fact that they are closing games with Russell Westbrook and benching Domantas Sabonis. I understand Sabonis missed a bunch of games and he's kind of working his way back, but like, they are really taking their time working Sabonis back from that injury. Like, this is ridiculous, right? Like, what the Kings are doing is absolutely ridiculous. Now, I mean, it's clear what this team is trying to do. They're probably going to sell some of these spare parts before the trade deadline. Whatever, dude. Like, that's the Sacramento Kings. You can't, like, you're not banging pots and pans because of this win, but it's a win, and you got to beat who's in front of you. What's interesting to me about this in this game is, the 3-point shooting, all that stuff, that's not typical of the Miami Heat. They kind of won this game, weirdly enough, like the Boston Celtics win games. They outscored the Kings by 30 points from beyond the arc. So they completely outshot them volume and efficiency-wise from 3-point range. They took care of the offensive rebounds. They didn't foul a bunch. They didn't turn the ball over a lot, so they didn't give up any extra possessions. So they win the possession battle and then win the numbers game by outshooting you from 3. Again, that's the way the Boston Celtics wins games. I talked about this after the Thunder game, about how the Heat were talking internally and then to the media. Norm Powell talking about how the Heat found a blueprint against the Thunder, and that Eric Spoelstra shared with the team a stat before that Thunder game, and that kind of refocused the Heat on a couple of different areas in the blueprint. And then they lose to the Warriors, and then I take some flack in the comments here because I was like, well, Wes said they had a blueprint, and you can have a blueprint and not execute it. Okay, I want to be clear about that. The Heat know how they need to win games. Just knowing how to win games doesn't guarantee you a win, right? What I like about this game is, despite the opponent, they still did the thing that they need to do. And for this team to win games, they need to offensive rebound because they're not an efficient shooting team. So in order to improve their offensive efficiency, they have to create extra possessions and second chance points opportunities. And so I shared the stat after the Thunder game. When the Heat grab at least 25% of their offensive rebounds, their record is very, very good this season and last season. Well, they grabbed 25% of their offensive rebounds tonight, right at that watermark that I was talking about after that Oklahoma City Thunder win. That is a big part of the Heat's formula. You're not going to make tonight they made a bunch of shots. Typically, you're not going to make a high a percentage of your shots because you're not that good of a shooting team. But if you're able to rebound off your own misses and create second chance opportunities and win the possession battle and win the game on the margins like that, that bodes well for you. So I do like that part of this win for the Heat specifically.
Yeah, that's a good point. How well do you think they played defensively? Again, something tough to assess given the way that the Kings, but they shot well. Like, they shot almost 50% from the field. At the same time, they only were held to 87 shot attempts over the course of the game. And I don't know how much of that I can attribute to Miami's defense. So you talked about it in a previous episode, how Miami's defense has slipped back into it kind of creeped up back into a top 10, but it kind of feels like not really a strength that you could say you can rely on very consistently. But I don't know how well they even played defensively. They did force, 15 turnovers, so not bad in that sense. But I don't know. It just felt like the Kings, more than anything else, just didn't really know what to do. So I'm trying to think of positives I could take away from this game. I like what you pointed out as far as the rebounding, certainly a strength that Miami wants to continue to develop. Their shooting was fine. Their defense was okay, but I don't know.
I
Some
thought
of
the
it just
defense. I thought the starters were good. I thought the bench was bad defensively.
defensively, yeah.
Yeah, I thought the starters were really good. I thought the bench was really bad, and it was weird. It was thrown off again because Sabonis is coming off the bench, going up against Nico. Kel'el Ware, should mention, no Kel'el Ware, no Tyler Hero in this game.
Good
First
point.
time Ware has missed a game this year. The fact that the Heat were able to offensive rebound the way that they were without their best offensive rebounder, by the way, is also a big feather in the cap there too. So Bam Adebayo had a bounce back game, one that he desperately needed. Didn't look like it at first. Looked a little wobbly there in the first quarter, but he did end up bouncing back in this game. We'll talk about that when we get to our credit cookies after this.
A little presumptuous of you to think Bam Adebayo is going to get some credit cookies.
Well, who
But anyway,
knows, David? I assume maybe one credit cookie eventually for Bam.
Today's episode, however, is brought to you by FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night, before the games tip off, FanDuel gives a fan a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new. Some boosts, some bonuses, maybe a few surprises. And it's easy to check the weekly special right before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect. Right before the games and right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour. Every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. We'll be right back.
Thanks again for making Locked On Heat your first listen of the day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Heat with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonheat.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. David, it's another Miami Heat win, which means it's time for the tastiest segment here on Locked On Heat. It's time for credit cookies. As always, we have 10 credit cookies to give out. Where are we going to start?
You know what? You teased it before. Let's just go ahead and give Bam his credit cookies because he does get 2 on the night. He started off, as you said, really shaky, and I thought, oh, no, not again. A 1 of 4 to start the game, and all 4 were makeable shots. One of them maybe would have drawn a foul. Didn't get the call, but otherwise still eminently makeable. And I thought it was going to be another struggling performance for him. Nope, not so much. Wound up hitting 4 of 5 from 3-point range, 5 of 7 from the free throw line, 8 of 15 overall. Pulled down 7 boards, 5 assists, a steal, and a block today. So a really solid game to go with his 25 points, and he gets 2 credit cookies on the night.
Missed his first 3 shots, goes 8 for 12 after that. Started with a dunk to make his first shot. Then hit this night a hook shot, a hook jumper about midway through the second quarter, and that was really his first made field jump shot, outside of the dunk.
Yeah.
Then makes a 3 on the very next possession, and next thing you know, he was going right. And it was a rough 5-quarter stretch for Bam, going back to last night against Golden State, and then the first quarter against this one where he had missed 16 of 18 shots, and you're just sitting there like in the beginning of this game, like, oh, here we go again. With Bam, the guy wins Eastern Conference Player of the Week, and then he falls right back into the slump. But right. Fortunately, within this game, bounces back right after a rocky start. It did not faze him. He just kept getting to his looks, kept getting to his shot, ends up starting to make some tougher looks, right? Hit that like dream shake turnaround jumper later in the game, too. I thought it was a really nice night for Bam, and it's good to see him able to bounce back mid-game, right? To not get in his head and let that bother him. I thought it was a tremendous job. And the shot distribution for him, I thought was really strong. 5 of his 15 field goal attempts were from 3-point range. He got to the free throw line for 7 attempts. That's the kind of things that you want to see from Bam.
Absolutely. He was aggressive early on, so you knew that he was looking to score and kind of get out of what happened on Tuesday or Monday against the Warriors. But
yeah,
he didn't let himself get into his own head and kind of just plowed right through it, took the shots, and continued to attack the throughout the game. And so, you know what? That's all you can hope for. Let's move on here to Norm Powell. Second to Bam in scoring, finished with 22 points and 8 of 16 shooting, 4 of 6 from the free throw line. I thought 3-point line. Pretty solid overall game from Norm. You can't really say too much about it. Helped kind of pace Miami's offense. Played a lot of minutes there, 31 over the night. It was Miami's played more than anybody else in Miami's roster. And I was surprised to see him out there in the fourth quarter late in a game that was clearly in Miami's favor. But you know what? He was a really solid game for him. And I think he was effective. Like it wasn't a great game for Norm, but he did what he was supposed to do and what he's done for most of the season and continues to help pace Miami's offense with his scoring.
Yeah. How many credit cookies from?
2 for him, Norm Powell.
Yeah, 2. I think it makes sense. Like you said, it wasn't a standout game from Norm Powell. It wasn't the best Norm Powell game, but he made shots when he needed somebody to make shots, and he did it. We talked about Norm's consistency in yesterday's episode. This guy just scores 20 points per game pretty regularly, and he did that tonight.
Now, this is who I really want to talk about in tonight's game. 3 credit cookies going to Pelle Larsson because he was great from the floor. Like he continues to play really well in that starting role. 7 of 9. Didn't hit a 3-pointer, but also finished with 9 assists, 6 rebounds, a steal, 16 total points on the night for him. Really solid showing. But man, were they effective. Like it just felt like he was really a key contributor, either whether he was, jumping ahead on a fast break opportunity or on a turnover and kind of just igniting the offense, doing what nobody else on the Miami roster was doing tonight. And he just continues to have an impact. Really polished too, had a nice and one opportunity, I think, on a turnaround jumper at Malik Monk. And I think the story of the game, at least for me, the most interesting aspect of it was, God, does he get along well with DeMar DeRozan? Like, I've never seen such a friendly competition. No, I don't know. DeMar really hates him. And not only that, but DeMar really clearly does not care about losing money on a flagrant foul at the end of the game there. Like, he really
what did DeMar? That's not DeMar DeRozan. He has 0. The broadcast pointed this out. He had 0 flagrant fouls all season. And you and I have been watching DeMar DeRozan for a very long time. This is not DeMar DeRozan. He clearly does not like Pelle Larsson for some reason. I don't know if something was said early in this game. I don't know if DeMar DeRozan even knows who Pelle Larsson was before tip-off. But something happened where he does not like that guy.
He started off too like on a loose ball. He was out of bounds. Pelle tried to grab the ball out of his hands while he was just sitting there holding it, and he took umbrage to that. Then there was a couple other hard fouls. Then there was a flagrant foul. Like, I think DeMar just sees like his shadow in Pelle Larsson, ironically enough. Like, this is a guy who tries hard. He doesn't make much money. He's a second round pick. And here he is busting my ass all throughout the game. In the meantime, there's DeMar just cashing his checks and going, well, you know what? I'm not winning anything, but boy, am I getting paid a lot. So they're kind of like the polar opposites of each other. And maybe it was just Pelle's intensity and effort that really just grinded.
It might have been like a why don't you respect me kind of thing. Like kind of like what was that Clay last year pointing at his fingers? Like, hey, you got to respect the ring. I wonder if a little bit of that with DeMar is like, hey, you're really coming at me like this. Like, do you know who I am type of thing? And trying to unk him a little bit. I don't know. But I loved Larson's no back down on it.
Yes.
At all. Like, that's
why he gets the extra credit cookie. Yeah, that's why he gets the because to be honest with you, he was just annoying the hell out of DeRozan and doing a fantastic job of it. So that's why he gets
I just want to highlight that 9 assists again. I mean, this guy just finds a way to pack the stat line. 16 points is great. Like, that's not even my favorite part about it. 3 offensive rebounds, 3 defensive rebounds, 9 assists in this game. He's got a he just does so much stuff. And the Josh Hart is so strong in him. He just reminds me of Josh Hart so much. And I mean that in the highest compliment possible, right? He's just a guy who you can't afford to take off the floor and just makes a lot of different lineups work all the time.
He does. 2 credit cookies for Andrew Wiggins. Really quiet night, but very solid. 19 points, 7 of 12 overall. And it just felt like whenever Miami needed a bucket, there he was. 3 of 7 from 3-point range. He had a really nice, I can't remember exactly who it was, but off the corner, just put the ball down and went to the hoop. He was aggressive in getting to the rim, but also really good from beyond the perimeter. Just really helped Miami. Again, a quiet night, the kind of perfect Andrew Wiggins game where he was just solid defensively, doing a really good job, and just helping in Miami's offense with these unexpected buckets. You can't count on him, but you know what? When he's there, he really raises Miami's ceiling, or rather their floor considerably. And then the last credit cookie, Simone Fontecchio. I think he deserves a credit cookie. Like 7 rebounds on the night, 15 total points, 5 of 9 from 3-point range. I didn't even realize that he'd finished with such a high total, to be honest with you. You watch the stats at the end of the game and go, really? He went 5 of 9. But there he was, hitting those threes throughout the game, and he's getting the bulk of the minutes. I know we were asked a question that we'll answer later on as to whether or not he's worked his way back into the rotation, but at least for one night, he was pretty solid. I'm kind of reminiscent of what he was earlier in the season.
So you had 2 cookies to Wiggs and 1 to Fontecchio. I just want to make sure I
got it.
Okay.
Yeah, you got the math.
Wiggs has been good. He's 19 points tonight, 18 points against the Warriors, 15 before that against the Thunder, 16 before that against Paul. He's been playing really well, and all of this on efficient shooting. Never shooting less than 40% overall during this stretch, and he had a really efficient shooting night tonight. He's also doing 3 rebounds, not so much tonight, but he has been recently. And then
Future Lakers legend Andrew Wiggins.
Fontecchio, when he's shooting it like this, it adds so much to that bench group, and he was definitely deserving of a credit cookie. That's it for the credit cookies. We're going to go to the text line next and answer some of your questions, including one about when would Miami have a better chance to trade for Giannis, right now or over the summer. We'll also talk about how to get the best out of Bam and that question about Simone Fontecchio getting back into the rotation. All of that coming up next here on Locked On Heat.
Today's episode is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our businesses and think there's got to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. And that's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with your customers. You'll love how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number. Nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and much more personal. It works right from your phone or your computer. You can even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps, so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise that Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus you get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. We'll be right back.
Let's go to the text line. You can get text from us and submit questions for the post-game shows at the link in the show notes, or text 786-998-7029. Juan writes in, what's better for Miami's chances to land Giannis, this trade deadline or in the offseason, David? What do you think?
What's better for Miami? Like, I don't understand the question necessarily. Like,
do they have a better chance of trading for him before the deadline, or would they have a better chance if the Bucks start shopping them in the offseason as opposed to within the next couple of weeks?
See, I think their chances are pretty similar because I think a lot of the ball is on Giannis's court, and he can, because he is the player he is, because he won a championship for the Bucks, he gets to call the shots in a way that even I don't think Dame Lillard had. As respected as Lillard was within the Trailblazers organization, Giannis is one of one, still a top 5 player in the league, still one of the best. And as such, if he demands a trade, and again, we've already heard from him that he would never do that sort of thing. I don't buy that for a second. But if he or somebody in his camp requests a change of scenery, if you want to change the semantics a little bit, that's all the control that you could possibly hope for as a player. And I think if he has Miami as a preferred destination, then Milwaukee would be kind of forced in a way to honor that. And so I don't know that it really makes much of a difference whether they do it now before the deadline or during the offseason. If I had to guess, I'd say probably the offseason gives them a little bit more leeway. I'm not sure entirely why, but I just get the feeling that maybe they might be able to pack more assets together, or at least have a clearer idea when the season's over and Milwaukee can just kind of move forward instead of having to decide in the middle of the season what it is that they'd want in exchange for Giannis.
Yeah, to your point, right? Like Giannis, because he's extension eligible, does have a lot of leverage here, right? By October, if he doesn't sign that extension, he might not have to ever demand that trade or ask for a trade, right? He'll just be telling the Bucks through his actions as opposed to his words, I'm not long for Milwaukee. And at that point, the Bucks will be forced to trade him and likely to a preferred destination, because whatever team trades for Giannis is going to want to know, well, he didn't sign the extension with you, but hopefully he'll sign the extension with us. So Giannis does have quite a bit of leverage, whether or not he does it now or this summer. You're exactly right. Whenever Giannis wants to get traded is when teams will have a better chance to trade for Giannis. That said, if the question here is, would the Heat be better off if Giannis demanded the trade now as opposed to the summer? I think the answer is yes, because right now the Knicks, which are reportedly were his preferred destination last summer, they can't really trade for him right now, or it's very, very difficult for them to trade for him because of where they are in the second apron. So they gain a lot more flexibility in the offseason as opposed to right now. And then for the Heat, they have the Terry Rozier expiring that helps them build that package. They're not going to have that in the summer, right? Andrew Wiggins has a player option, so that's a little, that's a little bit more up in the air. So they actually have the contracts that they need right now. So I do think that Miami's chances are better if Giannis were to demand a trade now as opposed to in the summer. But either way, if Giannis wants to come to Miami, or if Miami is at least one of his preferred destinations, the Heat will at least have a chance. Billy writes in, great game from Bam tonight, so forgive me if I can't word this right, but is All-Star / All-NBA Bam locked behind a superstar paywall? We can clearly see glimpses of it, but he hit that level when he had Jimmy Butler next to him. Norm Powell is essentially matching regular season Jimmy's production, but he's not a superstar. I think Bam at this point is locked behind a paywall. And in order to get the second best player on a finals team type of production, he needs a guy who's a true superstar next to him. Not a question so much as a statement, David, but it's kind of what we've been saying all along about Bam. He's not a number one option. He's a damn good number two option. But to be a number two option, you need to have a number one option on the roster. And it's why this Heat team was able to hit such high highs when Jimmy Butler was playing like a superstar, which he rarely did in the regular season, but often did in the playoffs. And that's why there was such a difference between playoff Miami Heat and regular season Miami Heat. If Bam was playing next to a guy who could score 30 regularly, I think this team would look a lot different. And I think Bam would look a lot different night to night.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He might even be closer to a number three option. I mean, depending if you want to pick nits there. But at the same time, it takes a lot of the pressure off Bam to be the leading scorer, and I think he's a little free if somebody out there is commanding the kind of attention the way playoff Jimmy did, the way another superstar scorer would. And that being the case, Bam would be free to just be able to attack, find seams of the defense, and get that kind of increased production that a lot of fans would want from him. So I think it makes total sense that if there's another superstar there. And look, I think that applies to everybody on this roster too. Another superstar helps everybody. Like all the role players on this team would benefit from having that superstar player. And we won't know because they don't have that superstar yet, unless they acquire somebody via trade. But at this point in time, you're just kind of hoping for all these kind of role players to have increased production. And it doesn't work that way because now they're kind of all kind of attacking each other almost. They're kind of feeding or their numbers can't continue to bloom without having that one guy that takes the pressure off or commands attention from a defense. And so is it going to be Norm? Is it going to be Bam? Is it going to be Pelle? Is it going to be Wiggs? Nobody really knows in a night to night whether or not those are the guys that are going to lead the team in scoring. And as such, you're kind of hoping everybody has the kind of hot shooting night that they need today in order to pull out a victory.
Yes. Right? Like this is why I say hold on to Bam, because if you can go get that number one option, I think Bam does look really good next to another superstar, and he becomes that complementary type piece that championship teams need, right? Because if you were to get rid of Bam and then get a number one option, then we'd be sitting here being like, well, it's great to have a number one option, but this guy has no help. Bam can be the help. Cody writes in, is Simone Fontecchio starting to creep up on Nico for emergency center minutes? He's such an aggressive and valuable rebounder, and Nico's emotional sways are too strong. When he's making threes like tonight, it's such an added bonus too. In terms of emergency center minutes, I'm going to push back on that. Fontecchio is not big enough nor strong enough. It's nice when he can get 7 rebounds when he's going up against opposing wings, but he needs somebody else out there to help box out and kind of free him up to get those rebounds. I don't want Simone battling against other centers, even small ball centers. That said, he was out of the rotation for a little bit. He's back in because of some injuries. He'll probably stay in because Tyler Hero's injury is probably going to be a couple of weeks here. Drew Smith, interestingly enough, available, but out of the rotation tonight. Simone is in. So at least for now, Fontecchio's got a rotation spot.
Yeah, I don't think he would be getting any minutes if Kel'el Ware had been active tonight. So, that's how it plays out. I think he has a role to play when the shooting is a factor, but we saw a good version of Simone to start the season, and we saw a not so good version. And I think that's just kind of par for the course with everybody on this roster. And so I don't think a center spot for him is realistic. Like, he's, to your point, he's not strong enough. He's not big enough. He was able to pull down some boards today. I think mostly playing alongside Bam Adebayo, who's able to do those little things, boxing out and creating those opportunities there. But I just wouldn't see Simone being able to create those kind of same rebounding opportunities for himself if he was out there at the ersatz center position. So it's good to have him out there and have him shoot as well as he did today. But I don't even really see that he's going to be part of the rotation very consistently moving forward.
Last question here comes from Zay. It's a two-parter. Part 1. Have you heard any rumblings on possible trades or Ja Morant news? Part 2. Who's more valuable out of Norm Powell and Andrew Wiggins if Tyler Hero is traded in a big deal to get Giannis? So part 1, any rumblings and possible trades or Ja news? The latest is this. Ja Morant seems more interested in Miami than Miami is interested in Ja Morant at this point. I think if a trade is going to happen that brings Ja to Miami, it probably won't happen until something closer to the trade deadline. And if it does happen, the Heat aren't going to move anything that they think that they're going to need in order to trade for Giannis. They're not, in other words, going to cost themselves a chance at Giannis to take a big swing at Ja Morant. You can agree, disagree with that approach all you want, but that's where the Heat stand right now. In terms of who's more valuable out of Powell or Wiggins, if Hero is moved in a Giannis deal, that to me is interesting. I'm reading this, David, as... let's say, hypothetically, the Heat trade Hero and stuff for Giannis, but they get to keep one of Powell and Wiggins, assuming, I guess, the other one is moved in the Giannis deal. Yeah. Which one would you prefer to have next to Giannis? That's interesting. Powell or Wiggins? Wiggins, two-way kind of guy, slides more easily into that supporting cast kind of role, but then again, Norm Powell's shooting could be really valuable.
Yeah, I tend to feel that Norm would be the more valuable of the two because of the shooting aspect. Because Wiggins kind of playing the 4 spot right now, and with Giannis on the roster, well, he really would have needed to play that spot. So could he slide down and have a really solid, long front court between Wiggins, Giannis, and Bam?
I like that a lot.
That would be great. But at the same time, where's his scoring coming from? Like, I think Giannis is going to be able to pick up the scoring considerably, obviously, and who knows what Bam will be like playing alongside Giannis. But I still prefer having a guy who's a more reliable 3-point threat. And for that, I think Powell would be more effective. But
I think
it's
about
not
Wiggins,
much of an edge. Yeah.
I think about Wiggins maybe playing the Chris Middleton type role, a guy who could play on the ball a little bit, maybe run pick and roll with Giannis. That to me is really interesting. And then Wiggs is a guy that you can have. Giannis and Bam as a front court is so disruptive and effective defensively, but you do need that perimeter defender, and having Wiggins like that could be very helpful. That said, I still think I lean Powell just because you need the 3-point shooting, and Powell is such a dead-eye 3-point shooter. If you can have him scoring on the perimeter and you're able to keep a guy like Davion Mitchell potentially, and maybe even Pelle Larsson, then that's enough defense out there on the perimeter where you're not desperate for a guy like Wiggins. But I think both of them could fit really nicely next to Giannis, and I think that would make a lot of sense. That's going to do it for us today. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On Heat. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Heat so that you get all the latest episodes. Follow Locked On Heat on Instagram, TikTok, and X. We'll talk to you soon.